In today's video, we're going to be checking out some of the most recent Pokemon cards that are going down in price. Alright guys, so we're going to be looking at a few different Pokemon cards here today. And overall, the market lately, singles wise, has been on a little bit of a downturn. Not every card, but mainly Ultra Modern has been taking a downturn. And I'm sure a lot of people are panicking about this, and in my opinion, it's really not a big deal because I don't really look at singles as an investment as much as I do sealed product. So singles I collect more for fun, and I have a binder of like alt art cards and things like that. You know, I have it all in collector. It's been going down in value, but if anything, this is just a better buying opportunity for people. Do I think this is the, you know, the end all be all low? No, I think singles might drop down a little bit more. But just to show you guys some of the cards, we're gonna go through a few of these and talk about them. Alright guys, so the first card we're actually going to take a look at here is the Giratina V alternate art from Lost Origin. And not every single alternate art card is going down, but if we take a look at the Giratina over the last 3 months here, we can see it's down 23.76%. We're seeing high sales in February to March 2nd of $709. And we can see now, if we go to the last solds, you're looking at about $522 for a Giratina alt art. There's a couple Chinese in there and maybe some Japanese mixed in, so we'll not pay attention to those. Obviously, you have 530, 520. So a nice little dip on the Giratina is now a good buy opportunity. I think maybe it creeps down to about, I think you'll see sales at 450 at one point here eventually. 450, 480. I feel like that would be a pretty solid buy point on Giratina just because it's one of the top cards from the Sword and Shield era. Alright, if we switch over to the Scarlet Violet era and we go last 6 months, you can see high sales of like 313, I guess, on the Greninja. And that's about the highest point right now is 313. And if we check last solds, 290, 295. So sub 300 now. Is this the start of a dip? Maybe. Greninja is probably looked at as one of the best cards from the Scarlet Violet era. Do we see this card dip a little bit more? I would say so. I'd say a lot of the Scarlet Violet stuff you're going to see go down in price eventually. Maybe not exactly right now. You know, it's interesting to see. You compare Greninja to Giratina. If we actually look at the 3-month chart like we did on Giratina, you could see it's actually up 2.64, but maybe a slight pullback like $10, which could possibly not even be a pullback. It could just be an outlier in sales data. You know, that's not really a big difference, but pay attention to this card. You might eventually see it take a little bit more of a dip. Bubble Mew is down 6.23% over the last 3 months. 6 months it's up pretty big. Still up 62% because when Bubble Mew was a sub $200 card. High sales of about 360 on Bubble Mew, and now we are at 330, 300, 300, 275, 275. So there's some good deals in there. You just got to pay attention. And why you're seeing such of a big difference in some of these cards, I feel like, you know, maybe Greninja to Bubble Mew. I think obviously Bubble Mew is way more hyped than Greninja is, at least in my opinion. So I think some of these cards are having a little bit of a correction from them being pumped up so much, especially Bubble Mew. Bubble Mew was like, what, $1,000 PSA 10. I bet if we checked that, it's probably not selling. I bet you it's down to like 800 if I had to guess. You know, don't quote me. I'm just guessing. But I think we're going to start seeing some of these cards, like I said, have a little bit of that pullback, especially when Scarlet Violet cards like Bubble Mew have been unnaturally pumped up in the market, and now we're starting to see maybe people offload some of these cards, different things like that. Pay attention. I feel like a lot of the top chases we're going to see come down, especially with all this reprint news. You never know, we might be able to get some good entry points on some of these alternate art SIR cards. Alright guys, here's another interesting one, Prismatic Evolutions, the set that everyone's going crazy over. This card was probably about $1,400 when it came out, or was it maybe around 16 actually, 1,600. You can see now we're having sales of 1,180. There's one for 1,400. There's one for 1,100. There is one for 800 here. So the card's still a little bit all over the place, but you can see we have sales here of like 1,100 and 1,100. This card has come down from what it was selling at. So maybe sales are still a little bit spotty and a little bit all over the place with this card, and people are just, you know, but like, look at this one. Is this even the right card? Let's check it out here. Sure looks like it. So near mint, that card sold for 800 bucks. Maybe there was something wrong with it. I don't know. I'm not going to spend too much time looking at it, but still there's 1100 and then there's 1400. I think maybe we see this one come down more too. I saw a post somewhere, I'm not sure exactly, but predicting the pop report for Umbreon EX, this specific card on screen. They're saying it's on track to hit about 42,000 pop report compared to like Umbreon VMAX from Sword and Shield era, which is about, I think, 25,000, 24,000, somewhere in there. So it's just crazy to see how many people are going nuts over this Umbreon. And it's honestly, it's crazy to think about, you know. Why is this card so expensive when sealed product gets ripped every day? More of these get pulled. There's more of them in the market. There's eventually going to be so many of them in the market. And I'm sure people were saying the same thing about Umbreon VMAX, but Umbreon VMAX pop report's way lower. Or as of right now, it's higher, but they're predicting that this card is going to be way higher pop report. And it would make sense because Prismatic Evolutions is so popular. Like I said, we're going to see reprints. Don't think that Pokemon isn't reprinting Prismatic right now. They 100% are. I'm pretty sure it's confirmed. And we see the Costco drop coming out here. You guys are going to see good entries on these cards, especially Scarlet Violet era. I 100% know for a fact. I just know, I've been in the market. These cards will drop in price. A lot of the Scarlet Violet. Sword and Shield, sure, you're going to see corrections, maybe going down a little bit. Maybe not as much as Scarlet Violet era, but you will also be able to get some good entries on Sword and Shield era cards. All right, if we check out Rayquaza VMAX from Evolving Skies, you can see it's down 6.14% over the last 3 months. So I just want to check out a couple more cards. And honestly, like, all these weren't pre-planned. I'm just pulling them up and going to react to this as we go. So we could see we had high sales of about 816. Let's check current sales. These are all damaged. 715. Okay, so maybe we're down about $100 off the high, which isn't bad. Isn't bad for an alternate art from Evolving Skies. Last card we're going to check out here, Lugia V. And you could see that over the last 3 months, this one's down 10.93% with high sales of about $305 raw. If we check sales right now, you're looking at about 260, 270, 265. So there's some, you know, if you guys are looking to get some of these cards, I would definitely pay close attention to these. Potentially they continue to do what they're doing right now and continue that drop a little bit. I feel like the peak of the hype of the hobby has already passed a little bit. I feel like we're starting to cool down a little bit now. And when I say cool down, I mean slightly. Obviously, there is still a lot of demand for Pokemon product. But you're seeing some of these singles drop. I feel like maybe a lot of people aren't hoarding singles as much as they were before. People are starting to maybe offload things a little bit more now. So just pay attention to these. I'm not saying to go FOMO buy into them, but keep an eye on them. They might continue to drop. You might be able to get a good deal for your binder. Again, use this to your advantage. I'm not telling you exactly what to go and spend money on, but keep an eye on these cards. You know, look up some other alternate arts if you're interested in those. If you guys haven't already, go ahead and join our Discord where we talk about things like this frequently. We have Pokemon predictions, TCG Pocket, everything you could possibly think of. If you want to join, the link for the Discord is in the description below. That's going to be all for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you could please like, comment, subscribe. Anything helps, and I'll see you on the next one.